Serious, Redditors who have experience in military combat, what things depicted in action movies and games are not true in real life? Nothing I've seen in movies is like the combat I experienced, except one thing. The first 20 minutes of Saving Private Ryan gets one thing right. Bullet noise, not the shot, a bullet passing close by. It has weight like a piece of incredibly long, thin rebar just appearing out of nowhere right beside you. Gets your undivided attention. Frick, the guy who got that right drove me right out of the theater. The temporary shell shock parts were good too from a sound perspective, except for the fact that in the movie they were temporary. I roll everything sounds like you have saran wrap over your ears. Death isn't always a quick process, it can take more time than the length of any movie out there. Combat medic here. Unfortunately I can confirm this to be true. Currently in the Royal Air Force, mainly the thing they, for obvious reasons, leave out in the movies is the sheer length of time you could be coming under contact for. I've spoken to a lot of regiment guys who have been on tours to Iraq and Afghan for around 2-5 years of their life, and coming under contact with the enemy can be seriously psychologically demanding. You could be having to wait out oncoming mortar fire for hours on end, literally non-stop shells that can be meters away from you, and all you can really do is take cover and keep your body to the floor behind shelter in a bunker. Crap is not fun. Same sort of thing with firefights really. I was in Armored Corps and I was going to say something along those lines. The amount of time spent sitting in cover is beyond exhausting. That is a direct order. No crap. All orders are freaking direct orders. There was never a dynamic where my leadership had to tell me they were serious. So quit playing LOL. None of Hollywood is true in real life. Military combat is boring, monotonous, mixed with seconds of adrenaline. Your weapons jam. You're hungry, tired and sleepy. The gear is heavy and burdensome. It looks cool on television, but it's fake. Source: USMC veteran. War is 99% boredom and 1% sheer terror. I used to live with an army ranger who described being in combat as absolutely terrifying, but only afterwards. In the heat of combat he would default to his training, but only realize how fricked up and scary things were after it was all over. He also said he was cold and hungry a lot, and he would have paid $1 million for a slice of cherry pie. The enemy doesn't always just die. I've seen enemy combatants take more damage than you could possibly imagine and keep going. I've seen them pass out on the field and wake back up to fight some more. Magazine changes whilst moving are freaking tricky. Well, if you wanna keep the empty one anyway, nobody in movies seems concerned with keeping them. When contact is made, combatants from both sides fire a ton of ammunition and don't hit very much. A wounded soldier is a subjective term. I've seen a soldier with 9 gunshot wounds be fully conscious and smoking a cigarette. I've seen a soldier with a very minor shoulder wound go into shock and nearly die. Most of the soldiers who appear very tough and talk about wanting to be in combat all the time don't do very well in an actual combat situation. The clear thinkers are usually the quiet guys. Female soldiers can be a force to be reckoned with. A lot of soldiers are actually hesitant to engage the enemy. When it actually comes time to fire on enemy combatants, there's still something there inside of us that has to be overridden in spite of the training and the situation. One of the most difficult things about being in a combat situation is that you can't hear a goddamn thing. No one is wearing hearing protection and your ears are ringing like crazy. Communication can be very difficult. Noise. Firing handguns and firearms inside is really quite distressing on the ears. The number of actions movies where it's no big deal, and they fire round after round without flinching in a confined space is pretty unrealistic. As an R-64D Apache helicopter crew chief, the entirety of the Nicolas Cage movie Firebirds, I feel like Neil deGrasse Tyson watching Gravity when I see that flick. I don't think anyone can point out anything accurate about Firebirds, other than those are indeed helicopters. In the most intense battle it can be total chaos. The only thing that gives an edge is the constant practice of contact drills etc in your initial training and general day-to-day squad, section, platoon and company training. Communication is one of the most effective winners of a battle, whether it's sign, radio or sheer brute voice. Though often the latter doesn't work except to get some attention from an enemy rifleman. Gunshots aren't constant, They are intermittent, and the most random peaceful things will occur smack bang in the middle of a battle, like being offered a cup of tea. Most grenades don't go up in a fireball. You really have to tinker with cars to make them blow up. Weapons jam reasonably frequently, though if you clean to the right environmental conditions you'll usually be fine. Initiative and smallest angles of fire will often have bigger outcomes than you originally thought. Most battles occur over significant distance, 300-800 meters. Urban warfare is usually incredibly slow and then amazingly fast. This is obviously subject to numerous variables. If you are shot, most people don't notice in the initial milliseconds following, and most of the toughest guys are the ones who mentally process stuff well. There can be a significant amount of downtime, but that's to compensate for the full-on moments. Despite all the training, science shows that only less than 20% of soldiers will actually fire directly into another combatant unless that combatant is directly threatening them or a friend. I've found the HBO series Generation Kill to be the most accurate portrayal of war. I did 2 tours both year-long in Iraq. Agreed. It's the perfect balance of dicking around during firefights and getting crap done, along with the platoon dynamics and individual characters. There are no back-to-back headshots and people don't die right away. During initial contact you want to gain fire superiority. You don't have to kill the guy, just get their heads down so you can move to cover or flank. Also, it is very loud, i.e. we got in a firefight inside a building and I couldn't even hear the guy next to me shouting out orders. My ears rang for 2 weeks after. It can also be a lot of boredom sitting on guard for hours at a time staring at the same area for days, weeks, even months. Grenades don't cause huge balls of fire when they explode. Cause don't blow up anything like in movies or games. People don't go flying back when shot. Knife kills are not a real thing. Most of all, you don't respawn or sit and magically heal. I would say that knife kills are rare, not common, not a real thing. A guy in my unit has 2 knife kills defending himself from an insurgent attack on his free on board. In no way was it planned. It just kinda happened. Parachute infantrymen Iraq 07 and 09. Cause are really resilient. We've had a 240, 249, M4W 203 rounds, and a Barrett pumping rounds into that mother, and he just kept going. He died of blood loss later in the hospital, but naive 19-year-old me thought it was going to be a lot different. Maybe with fire and whatever. Nope. M203 rounds are really weak, and don't blow up with fire or anything. Just kicks up dust and makes loud noise. Nobody gets confirmed kills. It's extremely rare and almost always reserved for a good sniper section on special missions. Most people that tell you they got this or that are most likely lying. It makes you go insane. While you're there you can't wait to come home, and then once you come back you miss being deployed. Regular civilian life is actually harder to deal with. In the military everything is provided for you, even the mental support of your fellow soldier. Then once you come back it all disappears and you feel alienated from society. No one knows what you've been through. Then after a while you start to forget and carry on with life. Go to college when you're 25 with a bunch of 18-year-olds that you can't really identify with, and then you start a job and hopefully find a few friends that you can. It all gets better with time. Real PTSD is the worst, the kind where when you hear a helicopter you start to cry uncontrollably because you've seen so many mangled bodies come off them. The thing that's weird is that while you're over there nothing phases you, it's just a job, and training muscle memory kicks in. This only from personal experience. Not everyone is the same, but we are all human and real war takes a toll on everyone. I haven't played a game that has depicted war correctly. A movie though, Lone Survivor, and Das Boot is pretty accurate. Both are movies of what happens when everything goes bad. Confusion for 1. You rarely know where the guy until they expose themselves to fire shots at you. Training kicks in, meaning you work well together doing complex things without direction. Movements and other orders have been trained on, so everyone knows what their role is. There is a real phenomenon called bullet time. What seemed like 12-20 minutes of an engagement was really 5-7 minutes. Your overall mission and procedures for combat are different for each unit. Your orders could be return fire and exit the area if under attack, or engage and defeat the enemy. The randomness of it, while you extensively train for scenarios, reality is extremely random. The terrain, weather, your and their position, size of your force, size of enemy force, capabilities of equipment, and ferocity of both your force, and theirs are just some examples. The largest thing not depicted to me is the intelligence or lack thereof. That is information of the battle space, location of where you and friendlies are, overall objective, tasks, enemy intelligence, etc. You have an understanding that your unit is like one of many pins holding a gear that is a part of an engine that is a part of a bulldozer that is a machine a part of a construction site. 1/327 in 101st ABN, Kunar Province. I've been through the Karengal Valley, featured in Restrepo, the Shirayak Valley, featured in Lone Survivor, Watapa Valley, and many other crevices in that mountainous hexscape that is eastern Afghanistan. Beautiful countryside though. One of my favorite things to do is watch action movies and tear them to pieces. Mother suckers don't even know one battle drill. Anyways, things that annoy me. Mother suckers not seeking cover. Why the frick are you standing in a doorway while someone is firing on you? The lack of ammo supply awareness. If you run out of bullets before the bad guy, life's going to suck. And by the way, every 100 rounds of 7.62 is about 7 pounds. Crap gets heavy real fast. Gear is heavy, cumbersome, and a B to keep quiet. Velcro pockets. Are you kidding me? The sense of confusion. Oftentimes, you're fired upon first. There's usually a couple seconds of where the frick did that come from until someone eventually shouts out where it's coming from and how far. By this time you should have sought cover behind a solid object, or you're sprawled out prone and as low to ground as possible if there is none currently. Which brings me to my next point. All those sweet hiding spots and perfectly placed cover in video games and movies don't fricking exist. The smart Taliban would wait until access to cover was limited or you were awkwardly situated, then fire on you. Also, any Taliban fighter worth a W penny knew to put plenty of open space between us and them so we couldn't get close without having to bound through a field, large terraces, down a freaking mountain and up another one, etc. The ones that rarely did and suffered greatly, I mean they all usually did. We have Apache attack helicopters for frick's sake. It's freaking loud. Gun smoke and other smoke gets in your eyes and it's all you can smell. It's an assault to the senses and you have to ignore it. I don't feel like that's ever depicted enough. Weapons jam every now and then, and it's sometimes a real B to fix a weapon malfunction. But it does happen. Firing from a fixed position isn't ideal. It gives your opponent the chance to maneuver on you. I suggest you maneuver also. There were times when firefights went on for hours, but that was rare. Air support would usually deter long firefights, but they weren't always available. So it's not anything like constant action. It was usually sparse and lasting only a few minutes when it did happen. Patience was key. If you ever think you can be a one-man army, you're an ignorant crap. The first person to win in a fight is the man whose battle buddy shows up first. 3 of my battle buddies for every one of your battle buddies is usually prime conditions. Vietnam veteran here. Something that can never be captured on film or in a game. The smell of death. There are a lot of great answers. Here are a couple things I'd add. From my experience in southern Afghanistan, where the OEF rules of engagement were pretty restrictive, the constant anticipation of that first shot coming in was incredibly unnerving, even though it got a little more lax toward the end, due to experience and the just another day attitude, not because it was any less dangerous. I remember how instantaneous either hitting the ground or finding cover is. Everyone freezes up given the right situation. Whether it be rounds impacting within inches of your face or hearing "I'm hit." Luckily, this usually lasts a couple seconds at most before getting back to the task at hand or taking the proper steps given the situation. The noise of it all was mentioned earlier. I'd just add that everyone is yelling as well, at least at first. In many environments, the direction of shots that are fired is hard to locate, especially when you add the panic and urge to find cover. So you have guys yelling out direction, distance, number of combatants, weapons jams, etc. It's a combination of ringing, weapons firing, people yelling, and any other noises, the dull mumble of the radio, any grenades, yada yada. Myth. You're shooting that truck while the good guy's crawling through it? He heroically makes it through the back with lots of holes above and around him. Reality. The tracers immediately catch the interior on fire and he is coughing and hacking on white phosphorus that is burning him alive. If that doesn't kill him pretty quickly, then the spall and bullet fragments impacting from the outside will. Myth. Men fly up in the air when shot. Reality. Dudes just fall down like they tripped. Myth. Contact is always a heroic endeavor. Reality. Getting shot at is surreal until it's scary as frick. Driving around is boring until you are dead from the bomb buried in the road that you'll never even see. Myth. Going to war is fun. Reality. It's boring until you're dead or you don't want to be there anymore. It's always at the inopportune moments when you are crapping or spacing out thinking about home that you get hit and have to do something about it. Source. MI weenie attached to an MPBN with a psycho for BN commander. I'm happy I've had cookies #feature me. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.